Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Nonprofit Show, specifically Fundraisers Friday. Yay, team! It's a Friday.
Yay! Happy Friday. I'm so excited it's Friday. Look at my hair. I'm so excited that it's Friday.
I love it. Well, you know what? It's always a good day when I get to the Friday, but when I get to work with Tony Beall. So super, super exciting. Today, we're going to be talking about planting the seeds for fundraising tech. And, we're talking about all the opportunities that are coming down the pike that we need to know about, that we need to be investing in and investigating. So this is going to be an action-packed episode. We have action-packed support, if you want to put it that way. And that includes our friends and the folks over at Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, JMT Consulting, Interim Executives Academy, your part-time controller, Fundraisers Friday, which is where we are today. I'm Julia C. Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy, joined today by Mr. Nonprofit Consultancy himself, Tony Beall. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much, Julia. Again, happy Friday. I am so excited about today's topic because, as you said, we're going to plant the seeds. So we're going to give folks just enough information for them to feel empowered and comfortable in really exploring all of the opportunities that exist in today's technology to help them work smarter, not harder.
Right. I love it. And I think you're so right. And I want to start off with that bigger umbrella that AI is an important part of modern fundraising. And so what does that look like to you? Because to me, I still hear a lot of folks and even organizations that won't allow AI into their systems because they feel like it's untested, it might not be safe. So I think we got to man up and say, look, this is where we need to be. This is a contemporary issue. And so get on the bus.
Yeah, and I think part of that is realizing that AI is a tool, not a takeover. So a lot of folks are apprehensive around AI because there is this vision, and in my humble opinion, we are nowhere near a takeover. It is a tool, not a takeover. So really look at it as something that, again, as any other tool that you would reach for to help you be successful in the best possible way for your organization and community. This is another one of those.
Right. I love that mindset because it allows you to think strategically in a forward manner and not being victimized or vulnerable, right? But to be excited about leaning into something that can offer new possibilities.
Yeah, well, there's always a natural apprehension to anything that's kind of new and unknown. So again, with today's conversation, we're really hoping that the outcome for most folks, if they're not already leaning into this, will feel comfortable and empowered and have a greater understanding of how this tool can support them. And at the risk of talking too much, I'll go ahead and jump right in because, as usual, I did some research because we're all learning, about AI and its possibilities for us. And so in my research and some conversations that I had, there were 5 or 6 clear areas of opportunity for nonprofits in the use of AI. And so again, I apologize to anyone watching. I'm going to look down and refer to some notes to make sure I get it all right. But one of those opportunities, of course, starts with fundraising and donor engagement. So with AI, you can run predictive analytics. So you can forecast donor behavior, what an asset that is to you and your team. We've talked many times about donor stewardship and how one message doesn't connect with every single donor. And so AI will help you personalize your outreach, help you with donor segmentation. Again, these are things that you're probably already doing, but with a powerful tool like AI, you can do them in a shorter period of time and perhaps even with greater efficiency, around the data and the way it's being sorted. Also, recognizing AI can support your websites with chat boxes or FAQs. I think many folks are experiencing that today, just as a consumer, and purchasing items on a website, and you have those chat box uh, you know there to support you. The last thing I'll say around fundraising and donor engagement is AI creates a tremendous opportunity for prospecting. It is a really powerful prospecting tool.
That's an interesting thing because I wouldn't necessarily have gone to prospecting out the gate. So what does that look like to you?
Well, right now, all of our search engines have an AI companion.
Mhm.
So even if you go to Google, if you were to search Tony Beall, your answer is going to be a response via the AI,
Mhm.
within Google. So you're already kind of utilizing AI in a lot of your searches. But if you go specifically to some of the AI platforms, they will be able to go to databases and really research and bring you some of the data that you're looking for when you're going through your prospecting exercise as part of your kind of impact selling process.
Right. So I love that you kind of teed this up and you gave us some frameworks to consider how we should be looking at modern fundraising. Let's talk about something that you just mentioned, and that's ChatGPT. I can tell you that it has revolutionized the way we do business on the nonprofit show and my company, the American Nonprofit Academy. It's absolutely fascinating. We were very early adopters, specifically Kevin Pace, our executive director. But even since he started using it, it has changed and shifted and grown. And so I think at the very minimum, this is where modern fundraisers have to start. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's a great place to start. And it's super easy to use, it'd be very friendly, and we'll start again, part of the value, and I'm not an expert, I will say things wrong, but in the way that I have used it and seen it, it will recognize patterns. It will start to understand you. It will really, again, just get to know the way in which you work, and you research and ask questions, and will respond accordingly. And that's really helpful when we look at some of the other areas that AI and ChatGPT can support your organization through communications and marketing and training, and even operations and administration with contracts, and just so many areas of opportunity. But ChatGPT for sure is the perfect place to start.
I agree.
And
And I think it teaches you or trains you up on the concept of prompts. Prompts are the tool or the approach with which you ask a question.
mhm.
And then how it helps you refine down. It's not just a one and done. You can ask a question and then you can keep synthesizing, the direction that you want this information to come back to you with. And so I agree, Tony. I think it's a great launching point for organizations, and I think just to get into the habit of how to use it and where you can rely upon it as a modern fundraiser.
And you
Um,
brought up, if you don't mind, Joel, you brought up something really important. And so when I think about all of the uses of Chat GPT, I think about, uploading data and how it can help with reports. And Chat GPT will ask you, would you like this in a graph or a pie chart? Or, how would you like this information to be displayed? And then it will create that for you. But that's part of, I think, the barrier for some leaders is how do you ensure the ethics and the integrity of information that you're sharing with ChatGPT and AI, and how do you manage the consent of data, and make sure, and looking at bias mitigation. So there are a lot of things to consider there, specifically when you look at using AI when it comes to data and reporting, annual reports, and really what type of information are you sharing versus here's something that I've written, a communication that I want to send to donors. Can you please help me refine this for these different 5 sets of donors? I mean, that's a huge tool. It's still your words, but it's helping to define and rework some of your messaging for all of those different types of donor sets.
Yeah, I love that you said that. To me, it's like back in the day when Adobe introduced Photoshop. And it's, if you think of it as an editing tool, and it was very controversial. And, back in the day, it was like if you used Photoshop, then, you weren't a real artist, or you weren't a real designer or a real photographer. And, it caused so many issues. And now it's kind of like if you don't use that tool, you're kind of looked upon as somebody who's not very sophisticated. And that's in a short period of time.
Right. And again, keyword tool. Like nobody, it didn't replace artists. It didn't replace, folks. It is a tool to just help us be better at what we're already doing.
Exactly. Well, let's move on and clarify that a little bit, because you said something really interesting, Tony, and I absolutely agree about the use of AI and technology so that we can use our CRM tools more efficiently. And I think this is one of the things where we're falling down, is that we think, oh, this is the tool, this is it, this is what we have to use, or what we get to use, or what we must use, depending on your perspective. And then we're not realizing that these third-party products and this technology is evolving. And so what we get yesterday and what we get today is not what we're going to have tomorrow. We need to be standing or looking forward, right? And understanding how these tools can change, how they should change. And I would even argue, going back like Bloomerang, one of our valued partners, they're always asking people, what is it you want? What is it you need? What is it you see? I mean, so the evolution is part and parcel our responsibility too, right? You need to be able to communicate back out and say,
absolutely. Yeah, we have to. Well, and that's a great example. So many CRMs right now either have their own AI that they have integrated. And again, there's probably a more sophisticated way of saying that. Others may have a platform or a plugin, an AI plugin. But I think all of the CRMs, at least what I've been seeing, and like you, Julia, I get lots of newsletters, lots of updates from vendors and just within the nonprofit sector. And you can see where the CRM platforms are moving in that direction. They're anxious to educate their customers on the benefits of AI integration. They're anxious, like you said, to fulfill the needs of their customers and to make sure that customers feel comfortable with the new tools that are at their fingertips.
Yeah. Well, and it's a moving target, right? And we have to, I think, have that more. We have to have an open mindset that this is, especially at this given moment in time, this is something that is an opportunity. I wanted to jump back into something you said earlier, and you used a really interesting comment about writing and editing, and then moving that piece of work through maybe the lens of 5 different donor profiles. And this gets into the art of communication. And I think one of the things, Tony, I can witness for myself, when I first met you 6 years ago and we started talking, and you would often bring up the buckets of donor profiles and the different voices. And I can remember thinking, who has time? Who has time to write and script out and strategize with these completely different segments? Mm-hmm. It seemed daunting then. Doesn't seem so daunting now using AI.
It's not nearly as daunting. And I don't even know what else to say about that, but it's really not. And I think when folks engage in it, so we talked a lot about donor personas, I think is what you're talking about. And Uh, and I think that they're still really valuable. Um, and it's a lot of fun really to work within AI and chat GPT particularly to help kind of generate these donor personas. And chat GPT can do a really good job of helping you kind of remove any bias from the creation of these as well. So it really is like having a really smart partner
Yeah.
on your side as you create these personas. But such again a great just a great way of using AI.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's really interesting going back to, the prompt concept. You can say, take this, these three paragraphs and write it with in the voice of a Gen X,
Hmm.
a baby boomer,
Hmm.
a millennial. And you will get, in my experience, you will get content that is spot on, but it's just tweaked a little bit to resonate more with that audience. How
Hmm.
powerful is that?
It is, and you said something really important about the tweaking.
Mhm.
So far in my experience, when I have used ChatGPT, I'm excited about it, what it provides me. I'm excited about how it broadens my thinking in
Yes.
terms of how I might want to communicate something. But
Mhm.
then it is still up to me to go in and tweak the messaging and ensure that it's my voice, that whatever ChatGPT might have recommended still sits within my ethics, my integrity, and again the way in which that I would want to communicate to individuals or to an audience. So the tweaking part is really important. So I don't want to give folks the idea that you utilize the tool, it gives you an answer, and boom, boom, we put it in a box, we tie it up, and off it goes. It still requires your own editing, your own flavor.
Yeah, and I think you just said the magic word, editing.
Mhm.
You can't just run it through, the process and then cut and paste. You've got to take a look at it to make sure there are no quote unquote hallucinations, which is the fancy word of what AI um, can manufacture that might not be sourced correctly
Sure.
or even accurate. And so, yeah, absolutely understanding that I think is critical.
And
You
one
know
thing
what?
also, I'm sorry, Julie, but when you mentioned sourcing, I've also noticed more recently than not, and maybe it was always there, but if I am doing research, and on any particular topic, ChatGPT now shows me the references and the resources where the information came from.
Right.
So that is really valuable as well. To be able to say, okay, I asked this question. This is the answer I got. These are the various resources or references that ChatGPT used to provide me with this answer. And now I can even go directly to those resources if I want to see what else they might have, or to go a little bit deeper if I want to do that, outside of AI. So I really appreciate that those references and resources are being highlighted within the answers that are being provided by ChatGPT.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it gives me a lot more confidence for restating the information, especially in data points. If there's a metric that I want to use or amplify a certain movement that I have within, the nonprofit show or any work that I'm doing, it's nice to have that resource, to your point, that you can follow through on too, right?
Mhm.
Not just take it, I mean, for granted. It's something that you can actually, quantify yet again. Let's talk about something else when we're thinking about planting the seeds and exploring the future growth of our nonprofits using modern technology, specifically AI. Talk to us about, I'm going to call this the observational factor. How do we learn, or where should we learn from top level funding professionals?
Well, one, I'll say there are so many resources available now to the nonprofit sector, pardon me, as it relates to AI. So go on LinkedIn, you know, take a look at that, search it. I will give, a shout out to someone that I know, Josh Hirsch, who's known as the AI dude. And Josh is a great, I know him. He's a great individual, been working in the sector for a long time, and has really taken the time, invested the hours to really learn AI and how it can benefit organizations. So follow him, to learn about it. But this is also a great example of why membership to associations is important.
Yeah.
So if you're a member of an association and you're going to networking events, have the conversation with folks. Have you started using AI in your nonprofit? What does that look like? You are using it? Well, what have been kind of the benefits, and what have been some of the pitfalls, and how are you navigating the ethics around it? And, and that sharing, that is one of the greatest values of association membership, is the opportunity to have these conversations and share best practices with one another. We all want each other to succeed. We all want our organizations to be so successful at fulfilling their mission that they go out of business. I mean, that's the ultimate dream, right? Is that we are so exceptional at fulfilling our mission that we no longer need to exist. And I think everyone in this space wants that to be true for everyone else and their organization. So keep paying those membership dues, and providing yourself those opportunities to meet with folks and have the conversations. Universities are leaning in, as you and I talked about in the green room. Hospital districts, big time leaning in.
Yeah.
So, if you have connections, at higher ed, within higher ed, or within kind of, the health and wellness industry, see what they're doing. Ask them how they've done it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think those are the powerhouses of professional fundraising. And I think, it's easy to say, well, I'm a small nonprofit. I can't learn anything from them. They have all these resources. And it's like, it's such a great highway to a finished concept, because these big super organizations have tested and tested, and they've failed, they've succeeded, they've edited, they've reintroduced concepts, and you can learn from that and apply that to your small nonprofit, and really save yourself a lot of time and money.
A lot of time. And what you said is really important, Julia, because my background and my passion in nonprofits started with small to medium-sized organizations. I love working with small and medium-sized organizations and helping them grow and helping them with their sustainability. But often small and medium-sized organizations, like you said, will be like, well, they're a hospital district, I can't do that. But they're higher ed, I can't do that. And I would say when we talk about AI and what these organizations are using AI for, these larger organizations, they're using it for the same thing that you would use it for as a small or medium-sized organization. When I think about, again, the benefits of using AI, whether it's operations and administration or program delivery or capacity building and training or risk management or fundraising, all of those are important to a nonprofit organization regardless of size.
Right. I love that you framed it up that way, because that's such a wonderful way to change the mindset of how we can be looking towards the future. And as we said, planting these seeds.
Mm-hmm.
I want to end with one interesting aspect, and that is, and again, using the word mindset, but using the word mindset in relationship to demographics and training. We talk about this a lot, that this is one of those few moments in American history where we have 4 different demographic sets all in the workplace at the same time. And so we have a lot of different age groups, groups of folks that have a different digital appreciation, knowledge, competency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to be thoughtful about integrating these things along with training, or
Mm-hmm.
we're going to lose folks.
For sure. And when we talk specifically about folks that might be apprehensive in using this tool and using these tools or any new technology, it's really important to have the why conversation. Why are we doing this? What is the benefit to the organization? More importantly, what is the benefit to the community that we serve by implementing and investing in these technologies? I remember when there was new technology introduced in my mom's workplace, and she would share with me, I don't know why we're doing this. Everything that we're doing right now works just fine. And it was not only part of her apprehension around new technology, but also part of a lack of leadership in explaining why this was important and what it would ultimately mean, not only for her and her work and how it would make it easier, but what it would mean for the others that would benefit from it as well. So again, having the why conversation so that folks will feel a little more committed to it because they understand the why.
I love that you said that, because that right there should light a fire under everyone that's thinking about adopting technology and technology, driving change. Thinking about that, it's what is it? How is it going to change? And I think there's so much fear right now. We talk about the aspect of labor and humanity being taken over and all of this by AI and technology. It's so scorned, and I would argue that the Gutenberg press was the same thing when the Gutenberg press, which created movable type. Everybody was like, well, it's going to completely eradicate all of the trained, calligraphers and people that could write by hand, and we won't have that anymore. And, it was perceived as a really negative piece of technology. And so this is kind of an argument in history, throughout history, that we have to navigate through and around to say, look, no. And I love that you use that simple word, but very complicated. Why is it we're doing this?
And that the reality is it's going to happen with or without you.
Right.
Just like all of the examples that you gave, it was going to happen with or without you. So understanding whether you want to be a part of it or not. But I'm hoping that today's show really did plant the seeds and gave folks good examples of how it can help them just, again, be better at their work, raise more money for their organizations, be better at delivering the mission for their communities.
I love it. Beautifully said. And that's what we want. I mean, the way you just phrased that is that, you just took us to church once again, Tony Beall, because it's really, really important. And I think you are right. We can get through a lot of our fear and intrepidation when we back up and we understand why it is we're doing something, why and how we're going to make a commitment to something that might make us feel uncomfortable, might involve some different costs, to understand how this can lead us through to impact and achieving our mission. As always, it's been an amazing conversation. And, this is just really the precursor to understanding how we need to think about the future and the mindset, because this by no means is over. I mean, we're just at the cusp of this new mindset for technology. And I think it's personally very, very exciting. We are always interested to know what it is as professional fundraisers you are looking at, what you're concerned about, what you're celebrating. And so send us your questions to info@AmericanNonprofitAcademy.com. Both of us are very active on social media. You can reach out that way. We're always interested to know what you're dealing with and what questions you might have. It's really fun to engage with you and to see what's going on. Tony, I know you're traveling this week and you're in a different part of the country. You're in the Midwest this week. And it'll be really interesting as you return home to Florida to see what you've experienced across the nonprofit landscape, because things are different across this great country of ours, and very much the same, but very, very different as well. So, We have amazing different partners. I should say they're not different. Most of these folks have been with us since day one, which is like amazing. But each one of them are different in how they serve our sector. And they include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, JMT Consulting, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, and of course, Fundraisers Friday. So just amazing group of people. As is Tony Beall. You are amazing, my friend.
Well, thank you, Julie. I was just thinking, we have Fundraisers Friday. Are we going to have to start having Sunday sermon?
Yeah, baby. I'd go to your church.
The nonprofit shows Sunday sermons.
You know what? What's a good idea about that is that you could do like an inspirational Sunday sermon to get you ready for Monday. I'm just saying.
I hear you. But it's always a pleasure to see you on Celebrate Fridays and celebrate the great work of so many folks in the nonprofit sector. Again, just hoping that through these conversations, we help folks think more creatively and feel empowered. And I think more importantly, just know that this is doable.
Yeah, I love that. I think
it's within reach.
It is within reach, and we're here to support you and to celebrate these opportunities. As we end each and every episode, we also want to end with this mantra. It means so much to me and such a privilege every day to be able to say it. It's simple, but it's complicated, and it goes like this: to stay well so you can do well. We'll see you again, everyone. Thanks, Tony.